Okay, again, thank you everyone for being here at this conference. We are at the final guest speaker, and it is my pleasure to introduce Judy Thompson. She's an internationally recognized TEDx speaker, author, and teacher. She doesn't want you to know how long she's been teaching, but VHS was state-of-the-art, and today's university graduates weren't born yet. With a BA in English, TESOL certification, and a CLB assessor, Judy developed and delivered groundbreaking courses across Canada, Korea, Spain, and Brazil. English is stupid, students are not, was her first publication, and is currently part of the Speaking English curricula in more than 60 countries. As a teacher for Link, the Peel Board, Sheridan College, and numerous international programs, Judy understands and needs the need to express oneself and be understood are universal desires that unite us all. Her material has been featured in the Toronto Star, CBC's Metro Morning, Word of Mouth and Babel, Rogers Daytime Toronto, TESOL Ontario Contact, EFL Magazine, TESOL and TESOL conferences. Judy is very excited to be launching the How Do You Say dictionary and app, and the Backpacker's Guide to Teaching English ebook series here at the 2018 Disruptive Education Conference here in Toronto, where we are right now. Judy is passionate about education reform and has developed revolutionary systems to help people speak English quickly and confidently by using first language, simple tools, and no grammar. Ladies and gentlemen, Judy Thompson.
Thank you so much for coming, and hello world. Thank you. So the Backpacker's Guide to Teaching English is the backbone of this, and it seems like an impossible task. How do you teach without training? There was a little genesis here, and it started many, many years ago. So when I traveled, and anyone who's a fluent speaker or English is their first language, people say, "Oh, you speak English, will you help me?" And you say, "Yes, sure," and then you're finished. You don't know how to do it. What's the most important? What's the most effective? Can you make a difference for somebody sitting beside you in a train? Can you make a difference for them for the rest of their life? And the answer is yes, and it's in the book. The other was the Refugee Community, and I'm glad somebody earlier spoke to that. So I recently spoke to Peterborough, and this was 100 families who they were empty nesters. So they adopted a Syrian family into all the empty bedrooms. But they were accountants and nurses and secretaries and homemakers, and they wanted to help their charges. So somebody in Peterborough called me first to say, "Can you teach them how to teach English in 2.5 hours in a workshop?" And I said, "Sure." And then we did. And then they all walked out at the end and said, I'm going to go home and teach English. You'll see what it's about. The other was administrations. So the bravest administrator, the bravest superintendent I ever met was head of a Collège Boreal, and that's a big language organization. And she called from Southern Ontario, and she said, "Our students pass their speaking tests and can't speak English." That's brave. There's my hero right there. "And can you fix that?" And the answer was yes. And it had us develop a test that separates accent from intelligibility. So right now they're collapsed. They're like the same thing. So in 5 minutes you can test any student and score their accent, which might be a 12 or a 13 or a 14, and their intelligibility as an 18 or 19. So when they understand and they can see their score, I have an accent, but people understand me, it sets them free. And when Elizabeth was talking, it set people free, that's what I do. So something's holding them back, and it's usually misinformation, and it usually came from education. And the last one's my favorite, and this is good for you, for entrepreneurs. This is your money card right here. So business executives. Business executives have a lot of money and no time, and they're brilliant students, and their secretaries call you and make appointments. So I taught executives in Brazil for a while, fabulous. And so to this day, I'll get a call on a Wednesday night. Brazil, as an emerging economic power, they're relying on their high school English to take them internationally. So they call this guy, Vowel, the mining company. He said, "I'm leading a meeting in New York City on Monday. Can you fix my English?" It's Wednesday, you know. this is who you have to be in this business? And the answer is yes, of course. It's the Wizard of Oz effect. He speaks English and doesn't know it. If he can ask me that, that's not a crisis of English, that's a crisis of confidence. He's misinformed about his grammar or his accent being issues, and they weren't. His intelligibility, so we needed to see that score. It's your money card because they'll pay you a lot of money. In fact, they'll pay you any money to fix that in 2 days or 3 days. The shortest student I've ever had is 5 sessions, and the longest student I've ever had is 8. If you're taking longer than 30 hours to teach somebody how to speak English, the patterns of English that work all the time, then you don't know what you're doing. But you will. How much time do we have? 45 more minutes, you'll know. So the Backpacker's Guide to Teaching English is a trilogy. It's something that sounds like a Hobbit thing, but anyways, it's a trilogy, and the first is pronunciation, and these are little booklets. Backpackers doesn't mean traveler anymore. It has come to mean volunteers, refugee host families, yes, travelers, anyone who finds himself in a position that they have to, dating. You know, I want to talk to her. You meet somebody in another language, your child marries somebody from another culture, and they turn to you. Can you help me with my English? You go, yes, I just have to download this little book, and then I can. So, pronunciation using first language. So that's sort of, yeah, everybody says, no. What's so about languages is all major languages use about 40 sounds. And any 2 languages use almost identical sets of sounds. So we bore them senseless, teaching them piles and piles of sounds that they already know and use because we didn't bother, or we don't have the education to know the difference or to make the difference. So that's the first one, pronunciation. The next one's conversation. What makes conversation work in spite of infinite grammar mistakes and accents? Sort of came to me with a beautiful little girl from Sri Lanka, and I was benchmark 1, grade 1. It's about her 2nd or 3rd day of class, and she comes up to my desk and she said, "Teacher, you me washroom." And I said, "Sure." You know, nothing was right. There was no grammar, there was no pronunciation, nothing that I'd been taught to teach her was in place, and meaning was seamless. There was no meaning loss. Communication was seamless. What makes English work independently of infinite grammar mistakes? English is really generous with accents and mistakes and pronunciation. So what is it that makes it work? Well, I won't tell you the whole thing now. I'll get there in a minute. And the last book, these aren't fat books, you guys. These are 25 pages, this big. And is fluency. Fluency isn't for everyone. But fluency is in expressions, humor, and nuance, hinting, and freedom to make mistakes. The freedom to make mistakes. Anna, she speaks 7 languages, born with the freedom to make mistakes. He just made mistakes. And look at the results that he got. So mama tata api. Still work. How does that still work? With no grammar, nothing. There's not even vocabulary. And it still works. So what makes English work? There isn't a TESOL course on the planet, not a CERTA, not a CELTA, not a BLIPA, not a BLAPA. They don't know. They don't know. So they teach what they've been taught to teach. And they're getting the results that they're getting. So I think all of us today, and certainly the goal is to support learners' independence, talking on their own in the real world, quickly and confidently. It isn't sitting in class for hours and hours, learning more and more and more pieces. So in spite of mistakes they're going to make, we're all making mistakes. We make mistakes today, we all make mistakes today. These are not fatal, but they drive fear into the heart of students, and they're afraid of things that aren't real. So there's a little bit of unlearning, that when we speak privately, we talk about that a lot, the unlearning that has to go on. And this isn't an accent reduction program. We all have accents. Everybody has an accent. So if the learner's accent doesn't impede their intelligibility, and that goes back to that app, So we're going to do a GoFundMe to raise the money for the app. This app's done and that app's coming, and it's about the apps. It's for $1.99. I want to know if people understand me. Sure. There is somebody who, Peggy Tharp, the American pronunciation coach, is the best I've ever seen at fixing accents. If you want it fixed, some people it's their value. It's important to them to modify their accent. I don't do that, but I know people that do. She's actually the best I've ever known. So book one, Cracking the Code. The Cracking the Code. This has 3 parts. There's 3 parts in it. How English got to be so messed up, how to fix it, and how to compare. The tools in here. How to compare English with any other language. And it takes minutes. How English got to be so messed up, otherwise known as the history of English. I wish I had, do I have a pointer? Yeah. Or should I just walk over? No, it doesn't really matter. The critical square is right there. So English was combination, the boiled down version of 3 languages put together. If you speak to people who speak a lot of languages, they say English is easy. So we've oversold it as really, really difficult. The most difficult. If you're not born speaking English, which just forgives all of our own mistakes. We graduate from TESOL school knowing we'll never make a difference, because adults don't learn languages. You know, we just let ourselves off the hook and keep these myths alive for decades. Oh, one of these points. One of them's light. Ah, okay. So English was spoken for 1,000 years, and in one moment, English got screwed up by one guy and screwed up forever. And he was a businessman. His name was William Caxton. English wasn't written down. He took the nearest alphabet. Oh, you know, I'm going to make some money writing English down. Here's an alphabet. And he grabbed the Latin alphabet, 26 symbols. English was already 40 sounds. What's the symbol for je? Garage, beautiful, pleasure, television, usual. Je, there's a perfectly good English. What's the letter for that? Oh yeah, there isn't one. So there's a shortfall of 16 symbols. So English doesn't make sense. And what he did get rich, but effectively he split English into writing and speaking. So people who are born into English-speaking families anywhere in the world, doesn't matter if it's Australia or England or America or Canada, 40% are functionally illiterate, can't read. So they're operating on, oh, I gotta use my pointer. You know, they don't know why they can't read. The answer is the alphabet. Doesn't make sense. And ridiculous things that teachers have been taught to say, like sound it out and look it up in the dictionary, and you're just like, what? What? Yeah, 1603 we copied his spelling mistakes into a big fat book and called it the Big Book of Mistakes. We've copied one man's spelling mistakes for 500 years and pretending English makes sense. All other languages make sense, English doesn't. It got broken into writing and speaking there. If you don't get that, oh, and all your education, all we've ever been taught is, is on the bottom line. You spoke English before you went to kindergarten. Nobody taught you speaking. You figured it out on your own before you were 18 months old. Everyone did, because it's not that hard. Because you learn by the patterns, and that's what we're going to talk about. This is kind of cool. Not everybody knows Venn diagrams. So I have to just say a little bit. You can't just assume they know. So this is the circle that represents reading and writing, and there's 24 symbols in there. There's the alphabet, and here's listening, speaking, and they intersect in one place. So this is in a logical phonetic alphabet where B represents the sound B and D represents the sound D. They have 18 of those. So this is what's missing. There's no symbol for 8 or 6 consonant sounds. Th and ch and j and n. They don't have symbols. So now they do. And here, look at this. We have A, E, I, O, and U. They're not in here because they don't make any sense. So in a word like they, T-H-E-Y makes an A sound. In a word like said, S-A-I-D, it makes an E sound. And on and on and on. There is no relationship. between those 5 letters and the 16 sounds that they make. So we're going to fix that right now. I'm not letting you go home without that. And there it is, your new best friend. So by happy accident, inside the name of 16 pretty ordinary colors are the 16 vowel sounds of English. So it's great for beginners because it's the first thing they learn. I wish I had a black magic marker. Who's going to help with that? And we're going to do this just quick like a bunny. This is what they started to get from the cover of How Do You Say? And the pronunciation. What does it say? See the color, make the sound. All right, can you see green on that screen, Christine?
Yep.
I'll go with this. Good man. If I yell this or not. I got it. I have 4 kids. I got it. All right, so we're starting with A. It's right up there in the corner. Some people call it long A. You don't have to call it long A. It's 2 letters. It's freaking long. And the color is gray. And if you think of words that have the A sound in them, I don't know why everybody always starts with play and may. We've got 8 here, great, rain. You start to get it? What color is they? What color? What kind of word is that? Say the word. It's gray. Yeah. What color is rain? What color is great? Doesn't matter how you spell it. The sound is in the same thing. Aiden. What color is Aiden? Aiden. Gray. What color is David? Yeah. All right. We're not going to do tons of these because you're so smart. So there's black. Black, 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 The ah sound is hiding inside of the word black. So what other words have the ah sound in them? Had, cat, mad. Here we go. You ready? Laugh, calf, plaid. What color is cat? Yes, sure, good. What color is rain? Oh yeah. See, it's like that. So there's 16 vowel sounds in English. Some of us know it as long and short A, long and short E. There's 10 of them. A, E, I, O, U, long and short. That's 10 of them. There's a couple of little orphans in there, wood and turquoise and brown. Turquoise, we're keeping the oi sound. It's not actually. And then there's R vowels. There's 3. This is General American English. R is such a stiff sound, it creates a new vowel. It affects the vowels near them. So in 3 cases, it makes a new sound. R, and or. The vowel sounds aren't equally difficult. So let's just start with this. Most languages have the long vowels and they don't have the short ones. That's what's missing. Olive is dirty green. That's missing. And if they ask, how do you say this? The answer is olive. They haven't even asked the question yet. That's their problem. It's olive, mustard, pink, and purple. Those 4 are the biggies. There's a little bit of black and red, and that's it. That's it. They don't have problems once they can attach it to something that's true all the time. Oh yeah, there's an app for this. See that little picture? That's to remind me. So build it. Okay, now you can hold this. Please. You'll do. Anyways. So this is the greatest ESL book ever written. I'm not kidding. So based on this chart, the 2,000 most common words in English, there's 16 colored chapters. So when a student, somebody hears the word friend, or guest, or next, or head, or said, independent, they can figure out that those are red sounds, that's an S sound. They go to the red chapter and they find how to spell it from how it sounds. There should be more nodding. There should be more excitement out there. Oh my God, we should be hearing out there. Oh my God.
Revolution causes.
That's on its own amazing. But that's not the thing that makes it the most amazing book ever written for ESL, because English is so abstract. Students know that a blue chair is a chair that's blue, but they don't know that a blue moon means rarely. They know that a red sweater is something red, and they don't know that the red eye is a midnight flight, or red tape is bureaucracy, or. So they find red in here, and all those little dots that you can see, those are the beginning of the expressions for those words. It's a book of expressions organized by sound. So this is the pronunciation, spelling, and sound. No, pronunciation, spelling, and expressions is in How Do You Say? The app, which I think is up, it might be up on Apple next week, or it might be up now, I don't know. It was supposed to be up now. It's only spelling and pronunciation. So if you can hear it, you can find out how to say it, and if you know how to spell it, and if you know how to spell it, you can find out how to say it. So the app goes back and forth based on this chart. Cool?
Cool.
Yeah. Okay, there's the summary. It's called the English Phonetic Alphabet. It's keyboard friendly. Actually, the end of IPA was 1982 when Microsoft left. Yeah, Bill Gates got rid of IPA, thank God. So those are, and a capital letter, the symbol means two symbols represent one sound. So that's the system. So the capitals are used in a slightly different way. There's the 24 consonant sounds and the 16 vowel sounds. Here we go. How do you compare English to any other language? So first you have the information that English shares most sounds with any other languages. All languages don't have some sounds, but any two languages have most of the same sounds. So you sit down with your student and you put all the English letters are in here. I am a walker, you're right, I'm walking. Yeah, all the English are here. Consonants above, vowels below. You just go with the student. There's a ba. Do you have ba in your language? They do. You leave it where it is. There's a da. Do you have a da in your language? They do. Leave it where it is. But they're going to get to something. So there's a big one. I went to Barcelona. I thought English was the only country in the world, language in the world that uses th, and I was wrong. I thought he was gay, but then they all did it, and that's okay. Gracias in Barcelona. You go, oh. So there's the template, and this is what it looks like. So there's Spanish, done. So those are the consonants that English shares with Spanish. These are, it's not 100% accurate because I got it off the IPA site. This is what IPA says are Spanish sounds. Anybody who speaks Spanish says, no, they're not. But it doesn't. It accounts for regional accents. Any student that you're sitting with will have that sound or not, or some variation. So over on the Spanish side, I don't care. Yeah, they have extra sounds. They got the rolling R. I don't care. I'm not teaching Spanish. Or when you're sitting down with a student, you'll probably fill out their side, if they want to. Really, this is all you care about. So clearly, here's the issue. Consonants aren't the issue. Spanish has 5 vowels, A, E, I, O, U, and they each make one sound. Every time you see that symbol, it makes the same sound. Beautiful, logical. English is nothing like that. So this is the weak area. If you have Spanish speakers, its vowels are their problem. This took 5 minutes. Oh, there's Mandarin. Mandarin's closer to English. The Mandarin sound set is closer to English than Spanish. Closer to English than French. Mandarin's closer to English than French as far as the sound sets. Cool? Oh, way cool. Yeah. Okay, let's get some enthusiasm here, people. This was amazing. But look at all the vowels they have. So in 1 second, you can see what your lesson plan is. Right? And there's I don't know, it's around here somewhere. Aiden's got it. The exercise book, the red exercise book. That's just dedicated to the sounds of English. I can't make this easier for you guys. Oh, there it is. What a good man. Yeah, this is from English is Stupid. It's an exercise book. Every page is a different vowel sound. Oh! When you start with students, you have to start at the bottom. We talked about this briefly. Nobody's learned speaking. You can't jump to the end because they're an engineer or a doctor. They went off the tracks here. You have to go back and get them here. Yeah. Every page in Hop on Pop. Every page in Hop on Pop is dedicated to a vowel sound. And so they get to focus practice. And so if, I love Spanish speakers, but they're just coming up over and over again. So if they're missing a sound, like mustard, the short U sound, and they're going money and country, because they're smart and because they see an O and they know what an O sound makes. So you have to break that connection, and you do the history of English thing, like just do that with them. It explains to students why they've studied and not achieved the results that they do. It gives context for your whole program. So something's missing, so you fix it. So you give them the word list from the olive page or the mustard page, and you have there's your repetition over and over and over. The most commonly mistaken words are on one page with the vowel sound that gives them the biggest problem. Yeah, you guys should be super excited. All right, those are just some samples. I don't know if we're going to show off or not. Let's do it. English is more different than itself. English reading and English speaking are more different than English and any other language. It's that different from itself. So if you don't distinguish that, how can they ever move forward? All right, that's enough of that. Need for speed. The next little book is conversation. So the speed that I'm talking about is not native speakers' speed. They already talk too quickly. It's listening faster. I can't affect how everybody talks to my learners, but I can affect how quickly they listen. And when they understand how words work, they can listen faster. Let me see. So English, fast listening, sentence stress, how English really works, linking. Do you want to get a cup of coffee? Do you want to get a cup of coffee? Do you want to get a cup of coffee? Works in Scotland, it works in South Africa, it works in Australia, it works in Toronto, it works in Nova Scotia. Do you want to get a cup of coffee? Do you want to get a cup of coffee? Where are any of those in the dictionary? I can't have in the dictionary. It's not in the dictionary. Writing works completely differently than speaking, and they can't recognize, learners can't recognize the vocabulary that they've studied in the words that people say to them. Decoding this is simpler than dirt. We just haven't bothered to do it. Have you had your coffee? Can I get you a coffee? And coffee. There's only one important word. If that word is blah, 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 blah. You can do it? Coffee. Sure. It's the same thing. Get one of it. Doesn't matter. So they're suffering away, trying to listen to every single word, most of which don't matter. So this is the elements of conversation. I put this up on LinkedIn. It went insane. It was insane. I think it was the beginning of knowing all that's over, and people are looking for answers. So it's really on students. And it's here. So they have to listen and watch and be exposed to. So English isn't something that they learn in class and then the next time they go to class have another lesson. And it's on them. It's not on you. So podcasts are fantastic. But anything that interests them. They like a movie. They love Friends. They love Friends, which is really complicated English, but they like it. So 300 hours, I made it up, but it gives them a benchmark. And it's listening without understanding. They struggle and struggle, they want control, and what did he say, what did he say? He said nothing, he said, blah, coffee, that's what he said. Just be with the language. Body language is the purple one. Oh, it all happens it's a circle in a circle, it all happens inside of context. Context body language, and content words drive conversation. So the little baby, you know, tata, mama, wawa. Everybody in here isn't a parent. What does the baby want? Mummies? Water. I want it wawa. Wawa. There's the stress syllable. Wawa. There's not even a whole freaking word in the whole thing. And the context. He's sitting in his high chair. Wawa tata. Oh, honey, we supply the language. His language doesn't have to be perfect. Perfect communication. Teacher Yumi Vashram. Perfect communication. And they're suffering away trying to listen. It gets worse. And strategies, well, the little baby in the high chair, his strategy is just screaming. But it actually works. It's a good strategy because it works. We have other strategies. Anish teaches them a lot. How, you know, excuse me, did you say, I beg your pardon? Draw a picture, whip out your dictionary, grab a translator, a strategy. I can't make myself understood. Here's plan B, C, D, E, other ways. Oh yeah, so you got that. English is generous and tolerant. Wouldn't that be fantastic to know your first day of school, that it doesn't matter how many mistakes you make, people are going to understand you? Yeah, and then your speaking gets better from speaking. We haven't even said the G word in here, we're not even there yet. So word stress is everything, it's all in everything. Banana sounds like, oh, here we go. Banana. And there's no variations. Banana isn't a word. Banana isn't a word. Banana. None of those are English. So English is a stress-based language. That's what they mean. All of the meaning and all of the pronunciation is in one important syllable. And it doesn't matter how long the word is. Nation, creation, situation, pronunciation. What color are all those words? Pronunciate. They're gray. The most important syllable dictates the color of the word. Judy is blue. Rick is pink. One syllable is higher, longer, and louder. This is the bedrock of intelligibility in English. If it's there, there's intelligibility. If it's not, there is no intelligibility. And it doesn't matter how perfect all the other elements are. So if your grammar's perfect, your individual sound how many students have you met who know more grammar than you? Unintelligible without word stress. Anyways, the languages that have it, the languages that don't, are all in conversation. This is not a ton of information. It's just the most critical information somebody needs to know that makes a difference forever and ever and ever and ever. Sentence stress, I love this one. I'm trying to decide if I can do it all by myself. So somewhere there's the germ of understanding that writing and speaking are different. So here it is split again. So on the left is writing. So in the first sentence there's 3 words in writing, the last sentence there's 7 words in writing. But in speaking there are only 3 in the first sentence and the last sentence. I don't know how to do this well with one hand. So that means a native English speaker will take exactly the same amount of time to say the first sentence as the last sentence, as there are only 3 words in each of those sentences. Well, let's see if that's true. See if I can manage the microphone for this. Let me see. Well, just watch my hand. Wolves eat sheep, the wolves eat sheep, the wolves eat the sheep, the wolves will eat the sheep, the wolves have eaten the sheep, the wolves will have eaten the sheep, the wolves will have eaten the sheep. Yeah, your poor students are struggling to listen for grammar that nobody even pronounces. They just go, for a grammar word. That's grammar that's reduced to nothing. So, and they can't, if you're not born speaking English, you actually can't read the bottom sentence. Those will have eaten the sheep. You know, they must. They come from an orientation where letters represent sounds. Every sound is equally important. They can't look at letters and say, oh, they all sound like, ugh. Can't do it. So when you teach them to listen for coffee, do you want to get a cup of coffee? They're listening, just knowing that this is how English is working. Their listening speed goes up exponentially. Do you get that? Yeah, they're trying to listen to every single thing. It's reduced because it doesn't matter. It's unimportant. It's a grammar word. Now in here is which words are important and which aren't. The details of that don't matter. It's kind of fun. This is Peggy Tharp again. So there are important words and unimportant words. That's it. Important words are stressed. And it's the same pattern in sentences as words. So, and below that, letters. So in the word no, how important is the silent K or the W? There's important letters and unimportant letters in words. There are unimportant and important syllables in, let me see, yeah, in words, banana. And there are important and, are you getting the, a lot of languages are, you talked about one. Every single symbol represents one and only one sound. Every sound is equally important. This is in English, and this is something that has to be addressed. And this goes on and on. So there's important and unimportant words, there's important and unimportant sentences and paragraphs, there's important and unimportant paragraphs in essays, there's important and unimportant chapters in books, important and unimportant books in your education. And this up and down thing is different in other languages. That's what's different, and that's what you have to give them. And that's how you give it to them. It's an elastic band. It's more value than anything Pearson ever printed, ever. Yeah, thanks to Peggy Park. Oh, this is so fun. So not only do words run together in predictable places, there's a pattern there, or you couldn't decode it. And it's called linking or connected speech. And this is right at the top of the priority. We had word stress and linking. This explains a lot of what they hear and how it's decoded. Native speakers decode it so automatically, we don't even know we do it, and we don't teach it because we just do it. So humans must start, this is a human thing, I didn't make this up. Humans must start interior words with a consonant sound. So every word inside the sentence, once the sentence has begun, must start with a consonant. I didn't make that up. So you can say ah or is, or you can start a sentence with a vowel. Once that sentence starts, done. You know this already from ah and an. Somebody wrong told you that words that begin with vowels take an and, right? Yeah, that's not actually true. Surprise. A one-eyed man, a unicorn, a European vacation, you know, so we have silent letters, we have invisible letters too. So, this is just my go-to one. Can I have a bit of egg? I'm going to get James because he's laughing because he gets it. Nobody's ever said in the history of native English speaking, can I have a bit of egg? Nobody talks like that. What are they talking about? James, read it out loud. Can I have a bit of egg? Can I have a bit of egg? Can I have a bit of egg? Every single one. It doesn't matter if you're in Scotland. It's a human physiological thing. We must start with the stop sound. We can't do vowels together. We can't start with vowels. We can't do it. A vowel, oh, what is the difference between a consonant and a vowel? My guru, Catherine Brillinger, I always go like this when I say her name, like every time. A consonant stops. So I know that A is a vowel and B is a consonant, but I didn't know why. And I was 40 years old and I had 2 degrees before Catherine Brillinger said, oh, vowel stretch. A, and consonant stop. B, m, t, f, something stops. So we must start with a stop sound. This is true of all syllabication in all dictionaries, in the big book of mistakes, all wrong. Now you like carrot, they divide carrot between the R's because it's pretty. How about carrot, like people say it? Yeah, the syllabication belongs, so every interior syllable starts with a consonant, period. I didn't make it up. The big book of mistakes, wrong, 500 years. Let's keep copying that. How's that working for you? So, book 3, you don't say. So this is, fluency isn't for all learners. You know, they kind of fossilize where they need to be or where they want to be. The beginning of a killer assessment is, what do you need English for? Do you need it to talk to your grandchildren? Do you need it to speak to your child's teacher in a parent-teacher interview? What do you need it? You want to go on a hot date? Do you want to go to university? Do you need a job interview? Why are you here? And why don't you speak English now? That was a perfect question for the Brazilian executive who asked me in English, I have to lead a meeting in buddy, and you're as fluent as they get. But he didn't know it. He didn't know it. So if you teach them how English works and what they have to learn differently, just isolate those things. This is what's different between what you do and English. Teach them those. Doesn't take very long. And there's a lot of this. There's a lot of, oh, the little light goes on. Oh. And then followed immediately by, why didn't somebody tell me that before? Well, maybe they will soon. I could rescue Pearson for them. See if they'll give me a little dingo. So the inside of here is how to assess. How do you tell if a learner's ready for fluency or if it's appropriate? How to teach brain leap. Brain leap, when your coworker says, are you going straight home? Are you going straight home after work? It's five minutes to, right? Are you going straight home? What does he want? He wants a ride. Can you give me a ride? That's what he's saying. Can you give me a ride? When your teenage son is staring at your, you're ate, whatever you ate, you push your plate away, your bottomless pit, teenage son looks at your plate and goes, you finished with that? What is he saying? Can I eat your food? Yeah. Do you want to go for coffee? Want to go for coffee? Yeah. I don't think it's coffee he's looking for. How do you teach that? And English operates up there all the time. English operates at such an abstract level, we're not invited to international meetings. So in multicultural international meetings, the person they can't understand is the native speaker. We can't even get how obsolete we are. And yeah, we're not invited. Because it makes everybody else self-conscious. And if they're all on a level playing field, English is not my first language, then they're all, they get the respect they deserve. Nonverbal cues, 80% of the message, why don't we teach them at all? At all, ever. So this is kind of fun. I hate the pointer thing, I don't like it. So here we go, purple, yellow, orange, pink. The elements of fluency, those are all there in smaller quantities. So we've got the strategies, the body language, the listening, and the intelligibility. I call it content words here. Part of intelligibility is pausing. So people think they're fluent when they talk really quickly, because it sounds quick to them. So they substitute speed for whatever. So if the pausing is missing, they don't need it at the conversation level. Beginners and intermediate students pause all the time. But it's when it flips over into fluency, no pausing. It sounds like a sewing machine. You're like, well, we need that. We need the pause every 2 or 3 or 4 important words, or there's no intelligibility. So that's kind of added in the orange part. But there's 4 new sections here. Expressions in humor, and that brain leap, and how to teach it. How you teach it is rooted in how you learned it, which you forgot. All these things you know about English and forgot. Culture, confidence, huge contributors. And this little pencil line, this little 2% right there, that little gray bit right there. Can you read it? You know what that is? Grammar. That's how important grammar is to fluency. And Anish, it's been said many times today. If you go to the grammar place, you burden them with details and cripple them. They're not functional. If you cripple them with details that don't matter, they can't remember, and aren't important. That's kind of, wow, I'm just rolling now. There's the difference to me between a coach and a teacher. So a teacher delivers information that isn't important to people who aren't listening, that they can't remember. And that's teaching. And you could do 200 students at a time, like that. It's a volume thing. And coaching isn't. Coaching is finding that piece that they need, that makes a difference and tips them over. And as fast as you can find that piece and give it to them, that's how much money you can charge. Are you hearing that, Edupreneurs? You could charge a lot of money for that piece. They're missing a piece. It's holding them back forever. And HR is where you get them. Once you get out there, that this is your niche and this is what you fix. HR, it's about money. So HR calls you and says, I hired a kid from Waterloo, top in their class, can't use a telephone. You know, I can't use them. And they're already, they're starting salaries of more than any of us make. So, and their grammar's excellent. Grammar's amazing. Yeah, so that's how important grammar is. So in the flow, in the river of conversation, how much can humans stay present to? How much can you expect of all the data that you've stuffed into their heads? How much can they stay present to? Maybe one thing. And if that's one thing, it's word stress. Give them word stress and throw them out on the street. And have them practice their way to fluency. That's the thing that they need. So it's kind of a pyramid thing. That's the one and only most important thing. You can teach it to the person beside you in a train, wherever you're going. One, maybe two thoughts. Maybe the pausing if they've nailed the word stress. So make sure you have one of those in your pocket, traveler. Look right, stay left. I was in Manchester and I rented a car, bravest thing I ever did. And I rode horses for a living before this, so that was a really brave thing. And as you're driving out of the airport parking lot, in white letters painted onto the road, are look right, stay left. I don't know how many lives they've saved. That's the information that you understand the principle of a car. You know gas and brake and left and right. That's the piece of information that will keep you alive in England. You don't have to reteach anything else. What's the least amount of information you can give somebody to make them functional in another culture, in another language? Word stress and pausing. You can get them in the game. Pausing means stop talking. Even as quickly as a native speaker talks, when you see it on the frequency thing, there's a pause. And the brain works so fast. If that tiny pause is there, there's intelligibility, and if it's not. So it's all right here. Let me see. Here's your kit. If I were traveling, or I wanted to make $1 bajillion teaching English online in my own program, here's some word stress right here. 1 fish, 2 fish, red fish, blue fish. There's the pattern. There's where they went off the tracks. Put them on the tracks there. And every element, every single thing that's wrong with English, you can fix with the cat in the hat. Because it's English, it's true at every level. I sat there with Sally, we sat there with two, and I said how I wish we had something to do. There's 3, too wet to go out, too cold to play, sat inside that cold, cold, wet day, something like that. There's 5 spellings of long A. There's 2, 2, and 2. There's 2, no, do, and go. 2 letters don't rhyme in English. How do 2 letters not rhyme? How does 2 not rhyme with go? So if you read this one over and over and over, their incredible human brain will find the pattern. Yeah, and of course, if you point it out to them, all the better. Put those in your kit. Take a whole pile of these. The big floppy ones are fun, and the boys will still break them and shoot them across the room, so you need extras of those. Chrissy, my girl, there's a couple of sheets when they get, we have to make it on the website that they can download. One of these sheets blank. If you never have a color copier, nobody cares. Take this and have the students color their own. And I'm showing you Staples because it's the smallest package with turquoise, olive, and mustard. The hard colors are in here. And if you get it in August, it's like $3. Otherwise, you gotta get about 64 Crayolas or something. So Staples is, I buy them by the case, actually. And they last a whole lifetime. You don't need 1 pack. So, yeah. So it's all right here. Well, let me just jump ahead because I forgot. All right. This is kind of cool. So the roadmap, the patterns for English that are true, always true, there are only 6 of them. And the roadmap is right here. There's sounds, we talked about those in pronunciation. There's words, stress, sentence stress, and linking. We talked about that in conversation. There's expressions in body language we talked about in that fluency. There isn't any part of conversation that isn't on this piece of paper. And 5 of those 6 are on this piece of paper. One piece of paper in an elastic band. Put it in your pocket and go anywhere you want in the world. You can teach somebody to speak English. So there's pronunciation, you saw that. Word stress is in there. Judy is blue. I don't know if somebody's having any trouble with what colors their name is a great game to play.
I'm about to post Anish is black. I don't know how that'll go.
You're right, good boy. Yeah, exactly. I was teaching street children in Brazil, and we did this. I don't speak any Portuguese. They didn't speak any English. And I did, what color's your name? My name's Judy, and I'm blue. And they just went around the room. Andre said I'm red. Patrick said I'm black. Victoria said I'm orange. Changed my whole life. I don't teach syllables. Syllables and stress is as natural as breathing for a lot of cultures. So keep that. They already do it. I don't have to teach anybody schwa. This is what's unimportant. Let's spend days and days on that. I've never said schwa to a student in my life. Yeah. So every word's a color is rule number 1. One and only one, most important syllable in any word. Important words carry the day. The meaning's in important words. Linking. The linking's right here. I is white. It's long I. Are you Canadian? Yes, I am. I don't say I am. I can't even say I am. Are you Canadian? Yes, I am. And it's written right in there. Is he Canadian? Yes, he. He is green. Yes, he is. Is the table blue? Yeah. Let me see. Are you having fun? Yes, you are. And the W is written right in there. So linking is in there. And expressions. When you're teaching the brain link, you can start with colors. It's a great place to start. As soon as they hear they took the red eye, something didn't compute, and that's your trigger. That's what we do. We go, that didn't make sense. And then we laterally think, you know, what else could it mean given the characteristics of the color and whatever, the context. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 out of 6 critical elements of English are on one page. We're making English way too complicated. So what did you hear me say? I hope you heard me say, you have to be clear about how English works and stop boring everybody senseless with what you learned, you know. A ruthless assessment to see what the learner needs. And it's not very many things. They tend to make, you can imitate, oh, poor Spanish, you're just taking a beat today. We'll pick somebody else. Hungarian. You can pick a Hungarian accent because they make the same, the Hungarian pattern is interfering with their English. Oh, I speak German with an English accent. I speak French with my English interferes in a predictable way. And when I speak French, they say, oh, you know, they know English is my first language. That accent thing, where it interferes, it only interferes in a couple of places, sometimes one place, but it interferes in every word. That's not a big deal. Undo that one thing and their whole lives change forever and ever. Use what you can for first language transformation to get learners into authentic, there, Anish is the king of this, conversation as quickly and imperfectly as possible. So disrupt, let's just disrupt ESL education. Let's just do it. Share with learners the big picture first. Okay. All right, this is cool. I don't think I need this anymore. Look, maybe I do. Do you know what this is? It's English. It's It's English. Rita Baker taught me this. She's a genius, the greatest mind in English teaching in the world today. There you go. And here's what we do in English class. Here's a piece. Here's another piece. All good pieces. Here's a, and however long you spend in English class, you get another piece and another. They never give you the picture on the box. And when you're in English for a little while and paying attention, you start to notice, wait a second, there are two puzzles in here. That's not the same puzzle, right? This puzzle is, you can't start a sentence with and. Oh, I'll throw it over there. Oh, you can't split infinitives. Well, in English, you can boldly split infinitives all day long. Throw it over there. You can't double negative in English. And if your brain just said, we double negative in English all the time. And that you just said in your little brain, you just said, no, we don't. Okay, that piece, we double negative in English. We're making a whole pile over here. English tenses are a function of time. No, they're not. Oh, that goes over. We've got two puzzles in here. This one's Latin. That's Latin. Grammar is a function of time. Latin can't split. Latin can't end a sentence with a preposition. All this wah, 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 wah that we were taught, that wah, 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 we fill our students with is actually two languages collapsed together, undistinguished, unseparated, with no box top, with no picture. So how's English going now? How long can you sit in English class collecting these? It would be like if these were, what were the cards we used to collect? Sports cards, So students could sit there and they go, I've got a past perfect continuous and a couple of phonemes. I'll trade you for a verb to be. I think that'd be darn handy to nail, right? Yeah, nothing. So by pattern teaching and knowing the patterns, you know them. If everyone that I said you recognized, you go, oh yeah, I do that. Oh yeah, I do that, right? You forgot it when you were 18 months old. So that's the picture on the box. There is no piece of English that they can't, English conversation, that they can't fit into the map. They can see where they are, they can see how far they have to go. There's nothing missing. That's the picture on the box. Teach them the picture on the box and send them out in the street. Everything they encounter has a place. Everything they want to generate, they can generate. From one page. This is the pattern of power. Oh, pattern teaching. We're not going to do this today, but Rita Baker has agreed to speak at the next Disruptive Education Conference, and she created the pattern for English grammar. Every possible English grammar construction is on that page. No exceptions. That's what pattern looks like. No exceptions. And when you watch her do it, you just go, damn. And I'm angry that this has been out for 35 years, and when I took my TESOL training, they didn't teach me this. They taught me Latin grammar, called English, and sent me out in the world to change lives, which is very, very tricky to do with the wrong tools. So, that's me. Keep asking questions. We're all disruptors. You wouldn't even be here. You wouldn't be here. Share the big picture first. First you have to learn it. Share that and come from that and be the coach. Teach them the piece that's missing. Not everything that you know. Give the least amount of information necessary to rock their world. Keep asking questions. Just keep asking questions. As James said it, just keep learning. You can't stop learning because you got a freaking TESOL certificate, for goodness sake. Participate. So we need the participation. We need questions coming in. We need direction. We're building a community, and we need everybody. So thanks for coming out. That was a blast.
Thank you so much, Judy. I wanted to ask if there are any questions in the audience first. Yes, the back. Just 1 second. I'll give you a mic.
This is more like a statement. I definitely agree with everything you said because I've only learned English for like 3 years and I'm an international student here. So like the first year, they tried to drill it to me like English is all about grammar. People would not understand you if you don't understand grammar. And like, I was like, okay, theories, blah, 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 I don't care about that. And at the moment I stop, I tune out from that, and at the moment I see English as like a language that needs intuition, it really helped. Because it's like teaching math to a kid that doesn't even understand the math language, you know?
Yeah.
Like, it's just, this is amazing. I love this book. I'm sending it to my sister.
Woo!
Yeah!
Oh, I feel like Oprah. You know, look under your seats. All the participants in the conference have, how do you say, in your swag bag under your seats. I don't have a car for you, but you can have this.
All right, we have a question here.
Your app is up on the App Store.
Thank you.
Yeah, so you get the app up there. I just saw it. And
is it in color?
$2.49 in color. Yeah, it's all good.
Awesome.
$2.49. The Venn diagrams there with the different learners from the different. Are they in the book as well? Like the.
Yes, sir. You can.
They're
right back there. You can leave them in the books.
But they're in the books. The sounds to match up.
And this is why.
Because that's really, really valuable for teachers to when you're in a pronunciation class with different students, and if you can break down those sounds a little bit easier for them, very helpful. So it's in the, which book is it? How do you say?
Oh, you're going to have to spend $10 and buy each one.
It's in my swag bag.
No, it's, how do you say it's in there? Yeah, they're in here. But, Chrissy, this is for you and I. We have to make a link where they can print an 8.5 by 11 of the charts that are in here, and we'll put that on our website. Before we do anything, I want to acknowledge, yes, Anish for just stepping up and saying, yeah, let's do a conference. My family for showing up and supporting me every single day. All of you for showing up. CSI, what a fabulous venue. Incredible. Our wonderful, he was a good sport too, Luke. I think we called him and said, you're going to be the MC. He said, well, all right. And stepped into it.
It's called being voluntold.
And Chrissy, your company is the Uncommon Ground. There's a whole bunch that would not be happening in my life without her multimedia skills, her everything. She's her, amazing. Thank you. Okay.
Were there any questions online?
Nope.
No. And are there any more questions?
Speechless. They're all like
just blown away. Well, you did have some questions that you had written that people tend to ask you, which one of them I would like to ask is, how long does it take for a student to speak English with your program? I think we were talking a little bit about this yesterday. I think it's a pretty interesting question.
It's 30 hours. It's 30 hours for a beginner, a novice student to get. A novice student only needs the first 2 books. So they need word stress and the individual sounds. They need those programs, and then they're good to go. And an advanced student, 10 hours is a long, long time. Advanced student takes the same amount of time to teach you. You know, they just get it. And an intermediate student is somewhere in between. But these 30-hour programs are everywhere. Jason West and English Out There, 30 hours. Rita Baker teaches all grammar and pronunciation in 30 hours. She drives a Jaguar, you guys. We have to do this differently. Yeah, this number, this 30 hours, it was so validating to see it come up over and over and over again, because I'm going, it's 30 hours, it's 30 hours. And to get agreement from disruptive teachers all over the world, you go, that's the number. If it's taking you longer than that, you're just wasting their money and taking their time. Sorry. Not really, I'm not sorry. I'm sorry if it hurt your feelings. But I'm not sorry to say that. Yeah.
Teacher training.
Yeah.
How do we do that? How do we convey this message? Are you training teachers right now?
Yes, I do.
Workshop for teachers?
I do. Now schools call me in, and there's a price thing for that. I go to Regina a lot. Regina. When you get one of those leaders of an organization who says, my whole school's doing this, then you can do it. And it's not hard, because you have to validate and keep what they've learned before. So it's essentially dividing the board in half. So everything you've learned is over here on the black side of the board and in the red side of the board. is pronunciation. And this is the part that's missing, but we'll catch up fast. It's not hard, but they all have to do it, yeah. If they're unemployed, they're very, very interested. If they're edupreneurs, they're very, very interested. And if they're young, they're very, very interested. But if they're old and they've been doing it one way for a long, long time, it's so invalidating to say, yeah, that didn't make a difference. They almost can't process it. And, yeah.
So obviously we have all these amazing books. We have you talking, being part of this Disruptors conversation and conference. And how can a potential teacher say, hey Judy, I love everything you're doing. How can I further advocate for what you're doing? Or how could you train me to go to another school so I can now, yeah.
It's pretty complete. It's so simple. It is pretty complete. So, like, read the books and then see what questions you are. You're going to modify your own program, and it's going to find its own level. And somebody as steeped in language as all of us are, it will automatically find its own place. Yeah, then ask me.
Okay.
Yeah, smart as you are.
There you go. That's great.
Well, if there are, was there anything that you wanted to say before we wrap up?
There was something about how rich all of our lives will be when we can hear what our students need to tell us. And setting them free, that's me.
Thank you so much.
F person.
One of the things that Judy mentioned before was exactly what I wanted to mention here, because we just finished the last presentation of our final speaker, Judy, and that was community. And we were talking about this yesterday. This is really the most important thing is building a community and expanding that community and getting more people involved for the next one that we would like to plan. And that brings us also to tomorrow. Whether you're here in person now or whether you've been watching this online, the hackathon tomorrow morning is extremely valuable, and we do want dissent as well, right?
I don't think they can get it online tomorrow. You actually have to be here for the conversation.
But if they, I guess if they're online, maybe they can't come. But if they
stream it on somebody's phone, what can they get? James.
James is gonna mic us all up.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. So we really want to hear from them, even if they cannot attend it. We would love to keep the conversation going, right?
Send in your questions and your challenges and defend yourself, and you've invested in something. It doesn't go down overnight. It's how to keep what that still works. It's the same process. It's progress. But anyways, yeah, March. I think we're going to do this in March again.
Yes, and we need everyone's help. We don't have all of the answers. This is just the beginning of the conversation.
Yeah.
With that, thank you everyone for joining the ESL conference, Disruptors Conference, and do keep in touch. It was a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you.